Hello, it's Sonia here, The Pretty Stitch. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, I'm so happy to have you here. So today is Tuesday, and that means it's Tunisian Tuesday, where we either do a Tunisian crochet project or learn a Tunisian technique or a stitch. So today we are going to be doing a project, and I am going to be using my J hook or 6mm hook. As you can see, it is a regular straight crochet hook. I just popped a rubber band on the end. So if you don't have a Tunisian hook, never fear, you can still do this Tunisian project as long as you just have a plain straight crochet hook. But if you do have a regular Tunisian hook, then by all means you can use that as well. So we're going to be making a hat, and we're going to be incorporating some techniques with this hat. It's going to be a bucket style hat. And we're going to be using a bunch of different colors. So I have a lot of this. This is actually purple. It looks blue on camera. Yarn. It's number 4 cotton yarn, and it's peaches and cream. And I was going through my stash because I'm really trying to plow through my cotton. And I'm making headway with this actually. But I found a lot of skeins of this purple peaches and cream yarn. So we're going to use it for a hat. So, and we're also going to be adding a whole bunch of colors. I just have lots of, so here you go, this is an abandoned project. So I have lots of, just a little bit of cotton yarn, so not enough to make a really large project. This was, I'm not even sure, I think it was just a practice, but we're going to be taking it apart. So it's going to be an interesting, colorful project, but I think it'll be neat. So it's going to be a bucket hat, so definitely a summer hat, and you know, I'm using cotton yarn, but I mean, if you have acrylic or any other type of yarn, you can certainly use that as well. All right, so to get started with this project, what you're going to do is you're going to need to chain 40. So here we go, I have 40 chains here, and our row 1 is our setup row. So in our second chain from our hook, I'm working in my back bump. I'm going to insert my hook in that back bump and pull up a loop. And I'm just going to continue across my chain pulling up loops. And as I said before, this is row 1. It's a setup row, and a lot of Tunisian projects just have a setup row, just kind of lays the foundation for the rest of the pattern here. So I am just going to continue pulling up my loops here. And with Tunisian crochet, it is always worked in 2 parts. So each row consists of 2 parts. So the first part is your forward pass, and you are putting your stitches on your hook. Your second part of your row is you're taking the stitches off. And I do have a whole playlist that goes over basics of Tunisian crochet, and patterns, and just a bunch of all about Tunisian crochet. So I can place a link in the description box if you want to check that out. Okay, so here is my row 1. I've got all my loops on my hook. So I chained 40, so I actually have 40 chains on my hook. So now we're going to work these off to finish up row 1. So to do that, we're going to yarn over, we're going to pull through 1 stitch, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 for the rest of the row. And then row 1 will be complete. And when I get to the end of this row, I'm actually going to switch to my other color. I'm going to be alternating colors. As I said, it's going to be a colorful hat, you know, but it's a summer hat, and you know, I feel like summer hats should be fun with lots of colors. And you could certainly do this project all in one color or come up with your own color combination. I just, my goal is to try to use up yarn and make it fun at the same time. Okay, so I'm at the end of my row, and as I said before, I want to use another color. So I am going to grab that yellow that I showed earlier. So here we go, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough of this to use more than once for this hat. I might just use it once, but we'll see. All right, so I've got that yellow, and I'm just going to pull through. So I've got 2 stitches, pull through to finish off that row. And now we're ready for row 2. And we are doing short rows. So this is going to be a bucket hat, and we're going to incorporate some short rows. I am ready for my row 2, and we are going to be starting the short rows for row 2. So this is my hat, and this part is going to be the bottom of the hat, and this is going to be the crown of the hat. I know it doesn't look like it yet, but it will. So I'm going to be doing some short rows at the bottom of the hat and at the top. For what I'm going to do is, this is going to be my row 2, but because we're doing short rows at the bottom, I'm going to call it row 2.A and 2.B. So it'll make sense in a bit. So just bear with me. So we're going to work the bottom of the hat. So what I'm going to do is I'm inserting my hook in that first stitch, working Tunisian simple stitch, and I'm just going to pull up my loop like normal. And I am going to be switching colors. So I'm not, this is going to be my main color here, so we're not cutting this guy. And I'm going to pull up loops until I have 12 loops. So this is my forward pass of my row 2.A. So the whole thing is actually going to be row 2, but there's extra parts with row 2, so that's why we're calling it 2.A. So I have 3 loops in my hook. I want to pull up until I have 12. So I have 8, 9, 10, 11, and there is row 12, or no, not row 12, there is stitch 12. So I have 12 loops in my hook. So normally when you're doing Tunisian, you would continue working down the row, but we're not going to do that. As I said before, we want to create some extra width at the bottom of our hat so it looks like a bucket shape. So what I'm going to do is, again, it's row 2.A, but the whole thing is going to be row 2. So bear with me here. So to complete part of row 2.A, we're going to work these stitches off. So normally when working stitches off, you yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row for your return pass. But because we're doing short rows, we are going to yarn over and pull through 2 right away. And it's going to kind of, so let's finish pulling through 2, and I'll show you why we do that. Okay, so I've pulled off those loops. So now that was 2.A, that of row 2. So now we're going to do 2.B, and this is going to be the rest of row 2. So I'm still going to be using this color here, the yellow. I will switch to the purple again. So to begin row 2.B, I'm just going to insert my hook in Tunisian simple in that first stitch, and I'm going to continue to pull up loops. Okay, so we can see that loop there. So let's see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's 11. So now I want to continue across my row. So you're probably wondering, where do I work next? So there's our 11th stitch. We're going to work right here. So don't overthink it. You just it kind of is a little slant. So there it is right there. So that would be stitch 12. So I'm just going in that stitch, pulling up a loop, and I'm going to continue to work across. So this is my row 2.B, and I have 40 stitches. When I worked my row 1, I chained 40 and I worked 40 stitches. But as I said before, we are doing short rows on both ends, so I actually do not want to put 40 stitches on my hook. I'm going to only work 39, so we're going to do one less, just like we did with the 12 in the beginning. because we want to also work the crown of the hat as well. Okay, so I'm at the end of my row. So I actually have 2 stitches left. So I have this stitch here. So let me get that knitting needle. So here is the second to the last stitch, and then usually we work, it looks like a chain here, and we work in the center of that chain. Well, we're not going to do that. We're just going to work in that second to the last stitch, and we're going to leave that chain stitch alone. So now I only have 39 loops on my hook, so we're creating the short row on the end. And so just like we did here at the bottom to do our return pass, we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 instead of 1 like we normally do, and we're just going to continue. And what I'm going to do to begin row 3 is I'm going to pick up my purple because I want to have this to be striped. So it's going to be kind of a crazy colorful hat. Okay, so I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to pick up that purple. So there it is. Drop the yellow. I'm going to finish off with the purple. I'm just watching my tension. And now I'm ready for row 3. So now you can see a little more clearly. We have row 1 here in the purple, row 2. So this is 2 point A, and then also row 2, 2 point B, and then it continues across like that. And now we're ready for row 3. And I am done with this yellow, so I'm going to cut it. Now if you wanted to just alternate colors, like if you just wanted to use, let's say you had yellow and purple, if you had enough yellow, then you wouldn't need to cut the yellow. There's going to be a bit of ends here, but again, I don't have enough for a whole hat. I probably will, I think I have enough for another row that I'll pop in somewhere, but I kind of want to mix up the colors. So I'm going to cut this for now. And then I think I'll revisit this yellow farther in the hat. I think I have enough for one more row. All right, so let's begin row 3. And we're just going to pull up loops until we have 38 loops on our hook. So we're going to do one less. We're not going to do a short row at the end here because I don't want to widen this up too much. I guess if you really wanted a large brim of your hat, then you could do more short rows at the bottom, but I don't want it to be like crazy. I just wanted a regular, you know, simple bucket hat shape. So, and again, I don't have a lot of yarn to do that either, so. So I'm getting to the end of my row 3 for my forward pass. I just have one more stitch there. And so now you can see, oops, yeah, stay on the hook there. So we're getting a nice little slant is what we want there. So I have 38 loops on my hook. So we started off with 40, 39, 38. So don't overthink it. All right, so now we need to work these off. So we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 right from the start all the way across. And then at the end of this row, I am going to switch to another color. I got to pick it out. I'm not sure which one I'm using. Okay, so I'm at the end of my row 3. I'm going to use this, it's like a orange reddish color. Pulling that through, like I said, it's going to be a wild looking hat. But alright, so now I'm ready for row 4, and we're going to repeat row 3 where we're just pulling up loops, but we're going to have one less stitch. So for row 3 we had 38, so this row 4 we're going to have 37. Okay, I'm getting to the end of my row, so one more stitch. And now I have 37 loops, so we can see it kind of forms almost like a triangle there at the end. And we're going to yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of this row. Okay, so now there's my purple. I'm finishing up that row, and then I'm going to cut this. Okay, so now we are ready for row 5. So row 5, we're going to just pull loops up, and we are going to have 36 loops on our hook. Still working these short rows here. Okay, so here is my row 5, and you can easily count these rows because of the colors. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to work them off. Okay, so I've got this like mint green we're going with here. So we're going to pull through, and we're ready for row 6 because we're going to do some more short rows on the bottom so that we can get that bucket shape. So I am going to be pulling up my 12 loops like we did with this yellow here. So I have 4 loops right now. Okay, so I have 12 loops. So we're going to work these off. This is row 6, the first part, but it's the same as when we worked row 2.A. So now we're ready for row 6.B, just like we did row 2.A, now 2.B. So row 6, we're going to work across, pulling up our loops. So this is not difficult, you just want to kind of remember your numbers. So knowing how many stitches you should have on your hook. So we have 11 right now. So now I'm just jumping to that next one right here. And I'm going to continue across, and again we'll have one less stitch. Okay, I'm heading to the end of my row 6.B. So now we are going to have 35 loops on our hook. And if you're not sure, like I said, it's just one less. So what I like to do is, so this was row 1, we had 40. So row 2, 39, row 3, 38, row 4, 37, row 5, 36, row 6, point B, 35 stitches. And we're just going to pull these guys off, and then I'll switch back to my other color. And then rows 7 and 8, we're just going to work across but have one less stitch. So we're going to have for row 7, you're going to have 34 stitches, row 8, you're going to have 33 stitches. Okay, so I finished up row 9. Here is row 10. So we're going to do another short row like this here. So this will be row 10.A. So we're going to pull up 12 loops here. Oops, I'm not working with the right color. Alrighty then, let's get the right color going here. We're not using purple right now. Okay, so here are my 12 loops for row 10.A, and we're going to pull through 2 of those because we want to widen this up a little bit more. Alright, so now for row 10, we're going to stitch all the way across. We're going to have one less row, so we're going to have 31 loops on our hook, and then row 11 we're just going to stitch across. We're going to have 30 loops on our hook, and then row 12 we're going to stitch across, and we will have 29 loops on our hook, and we'll work those off, and then we will have completed our first wedge. So I'm going to go do that. I will meet you back at the end of row 12. Okay, so I finished up row 12. So now we can really see the wedge part here. So this is our first wedge of our hat, and you can see how it's slightly wider at the end here. So this is the brim of the hat. So now we are going to work row 13, and we need to put back on 40 stitches like we have for row 1. So we're going to work all the way down all these short rows, and that's going to help start giving that curved look so it looks more hat-like, because it really doesn't right now. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start pulling up loops, working Tunisian simple. Okay, so here we go. We currently have 28 loops on our hook, but we want to put 40 back on. So what we're going to do is, like I said before, we're going to work down, and we're going to work in all these loops. So what you're going to want to work in is, so I'm going to work in this loop right here, and this one right here, all the way down until we get to our very first row, and I'll show you how we're going to work in there. So let's pull up that loop. So this is stitch 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, so this is stitch 39. So now we have what looks like a chain in the beginning. So we are going to insert our hook through that chain, and it got tight, so there we go, in the center of that chain, and we're going to pull through. And now we have all of our 40 loops back on there. I know they're a little crunched, on the shorter hook, but that's okay. All right, so now we are going to work these loops off. So we're going to, when you work in the chain, you're going to work it off where you're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 for the rest of the row, like normal Tunisian crochet. Okay, so we have completed row 13. So now you can see how we've worked all the way down. So what you're going to want to do for the rest of your hat is you're actually going to be repeating rows 2 through 13 until you have enough wedges so that we can then stitch it to make it look like a hat. And what you're going to want to finish on is you're going to want to end on a row 12, because if you end on a row 13, when we eventually we're going to stitch it together, then you're going to have this is going to look too thick. So you're going to want to end on a row 12. Okay, so here we go. Here is my hat. I ended up working 72 rows, so I finished on a row 12 here. And now I'm going to, we have to sew this so we can turn it into a hat. And of course we have a zillion ends to weave in, but I think it's going to be really cute though, despite all of the ends. Alright, so what I ended up doing here is I cut my main color because I want to use that for sewing, and I cut a substantial tail here so that I have enough to sew. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have the crown of the hat. So here's the crown of the hat, so that's the top, and then obviously this is the brim of the hat. So you want that facing you. And we're going to sew it, and I don't like sewing, but with this technique sewing works best. So we're going to sew it from the brim to the crown. So I already have my main color here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook, or my needle. So I have my yarn needle all threaded. So we're going to be having the needle pointing towards our body. So I'm going to actually attach it on the other side here. So here is the end there, just to kind of connect it, the two ends together. And as you can see, I have quite the tail going on here. And just to secure it, I'm going to just insert my needle in that other stitch, the end there, just so the ends are connected. All right, so let's get going. So we're just going to be matching up stitches here. So, and you're going to kind of sew like in a zigzag motion. Since I threaded my tail through this stitch here, I want to go over to this side because we want to work in a zigzag motion. So I'm going to insert my hook in that stitch there, that vertical bar, pull my needle down, and it creates an almost invisible seam. I mean, you'll be able to see it a little bit, but it's really not going to be too bad. And then we're going to go into the other vertical bar on the other side. So you're just matching up stitches. And now we're going to go into the next one. So you see I have my needle pointing down, going through that stitch, and then going into the other one. And then I'm just going to gently So you can see it's loose there. Just gently tighten that up. And that yarn is splitting. I think I threaded it through the loop there. Oh, that looks charming. So I am going to fix that real quick off camera. Okay, so I did fix that. I had inserted my needle through that and created a split. I don't want to do that. All right, so I'm going to go into the other stitch on the other side, that vertical bar. And then we'll do the other one, creating that zigzag motion there. And we're just doing this until we get to the crown of our hat, and then we'll have a small hole at the top, so we're going to need to also take care of that as well. And then this hat will be almost done. Besides obviously weaving in ends, I might block it too, because this yarn is literally scraps and some of it's been sitting in a bin for years, so it, you know, when things sit for a while, they're just not their freshest. So a nice little block. Oops. Creating extra loops there. We don't need to do that. There we go. So I'm just going back and forth. So let me see if I can do it a little bit looser so that you can kind of see that zigzag, so you can kind of see it here. And now I'm going to go over to the other side. And then I'll go over to the other side there. Just matching up stitches. And I'm going to gently just tighten them up. So you can see how that just creates a nice neat finish there. So I'm going to keep going, just stitching this closed, this seam closed, and I will meet you back. Okay, just want to show you, so I am still stitching this up, but so now you can see this is the one end where you can clearly see those vertical bars there, and then this side is where the short rows are. So where to work, so I have just threaded through here, so now I need to go back to this side over here in this stitch. So pull that through. And now we're going to go over here. So we're just going to work in the stitches like if you were working those short rows. So right here, we're going to insert our hook here. And then we're going to go to the other side. And then the next stitch is down here. So I just wanted to show that to you so you know where to insert your hook, or your, not your hook, your needle. We were using a hook, now we're using a needle. So I feel like I got an end caught somewhere here. Alright, so you can see the zigzag here. So again, you just gently pull it closed. You don't want to pull it too tight because you do want to see, you know, we have the contrasting color. So I didn't plan this through. I have yellow, and this is like it's actually lime green, but it looks more yellow on camera, so that's okay. So you want to make sure that that color shows through, so you don't want to, when you pull this, you don't want to pull too tight. So I'm going to keep going here, finishing this guy up, and then we will close the hole at the top. Okay, so I finished stitching up my seam here. So now we just have a little hole on the top. So I'm just going to take my needle and thread it around and stitch it closed. So I am going to do that, and then we are going to have one more step. I just want to create like a little border on the edge here, just to give it like a nice finished look. And of course I have a zillion ends to weave in. I mean, you can make this with just one contrasting color, and then you would carry it across. So you can see here how I carried the, I consider my purple here, so this purple that it looks blue on camera, but it is purple right here as my main color. And you can just see how I carried it across. So right there, I carried that across. And you could do that just with two different colors, and then you wouldn't have all these ends. But again, I didn't have enough of a single color to do that. And I do like this. I think it's really fun. So, you know, that's the price to pay when you're using lots of colors, is the ends that you have to weave in. So I'm going to finish stitching up the top of this hat here, and then we will work on our edging for the bottom. Okay, so I stitched up my hole, so you can see that looks really nice and neat. And you can make this hat larger. So I made 6 wedges, so 72 rows. But if you need to make another wedge for a larger hat, you know, you certainly can do that. But now we're just going to do the last step of this hat. So as you can see, the ends of these rows look like the tops of regular crochet stitches. So I am going to insert my hook in one of those stitches, and this is where I sewed that seam. So I'm just doing it in the back, and I have my main color here. So I'm just attaching my yarn, and we're just going to work a round of single crochet just to kind of give it a finished look. I mean, you don't have to do that, but I just think it'll just give it that little extra something here. So it's really easy to find the stitches. Again, they look like the tops of regular crochet stitches. So just working that single crochet, and then at the end, cut our yarn, and then I have a billion ends to weave in. So you'll see this hat all finished, but I am really happy with it. I think it's pretty cute. My idea panned out. I wasn't sure if it would, but it did. So I'm really happy about that. Okay, so I finished stitching around. So now I'm just going to join with a slip stitch in that first stitch, and then I can cut my yarn. And then I have to weave in a ton of ends. Got my work cut out for me. And I'll probably give this a little block, as I said before, because of the age of this yarn. But here we go. Here is the hat. I think it's pretty cute. I really love how the crown looks. I think that looks really pretty. It's, you know, a fun kind of boho style, I guess. I'm not sure what boho is. I think this is kind of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but it gives me that kind of vibe. But I hope you enjoyed this project, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.